In the noisy chaos of the construction site, the foreman's voice, harsh as a rusty bolt, cut through the air. "Someone called social services. Looks like a veteran got lost." Malicious laughter erupted in chorus as Kara Vance shuffled along, her left leg prosthesis evident under faded jeans. "Missed your way to the charity counter, sweetheart?" another yelled, and the mockery spread across the site. Kara tightened the worn cap from her Marine days, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on an invisible point ahead. She didn't waver, she didn't stop. Those men didn't know she had faced far worse hails, that under a hail of bullets she had rescued wounded comrades. Her leg, now mechanical, was a battle scar, not an accessory to inspire pity. Barely 15 minutes passed before the hum of work died down. A heavy silence fell over the place. 3 imposing black SUVs with tinted windows screeched to a halt, blocking the main access. From them, 7 men leapt out in perfect synchronicity, like moving shadows. They were from the Naval Elite Force, but there, on the dusty ground, they seemed to have come from another world. Their faces were stone masks, their steps firm. No one recognized them immediately, but it was enough for them to position themselves, their eyes sweeping the site and fixing on Kara, for all the workers to freeze. For the first time that day, laughter completely vanished from the air. After being discharged from the Navy, Kara Vance did not return to glory parades or pompous ceremonies. She opted for a life of almost invisible discretion. Her apartment, a hideaway in the back of a dusty shopping center in East Dallas, was modest. 2 rooms, a cramped balcony, and neighbors who barely noticed her. But it was hers, a sanctuary where no one dared to question, and silence was her most faithful confidant, punctuated only by the ticking of the wall clock. Every Tuesday, the ritual repeated. She prepared her olive green backpack, slung it over her shoulder, and took bus 82 towards the military clinic. Inside the backpack, medicines, a small notebook, and, at the bottom, carefully stored, a Navy cap, crumpled and faded by sun and time. She never wore it, but she could never leave it behind. That piece of fabric had witnessed 2 missions and 3 firefights. It was the last bridge to a past she had decided to bury. Her left leg, amputated below the knee by an improvised explosive device, IED, near Kandahar, had been replaced by a state-of-the-art prosthesis. Black and matte, it was pure functionality, devoid of any adornment. Each step she took emitted a soft yet deliberate click. To others, it was a strange, unusual sound. To Kara, it was the beat of her own persistence. A constant reminder that despite everything, she was still moving forward. To her neighbors, she was just the reserved lady, always polite, always alone. Children sometimes stared at her prosthesis or asked impolite questions, thinking she couldn't hear. Kara never paid them any mind. It wasn't her place to justify herself. At night, memories invaded her mind like troubling specters. The roar of mortars, the screech of malfunctioning radios, the damp warmth of a comrade's blood in her hands. She would spend hours at the window, watching car headlights cut through the darkness, sliding across the curtains like relentless searchlights. The apartment was a tomb, but in her head, the battles replayed endlessly. She never complained, never lamented what she lost. Kara Vance did not parade her pain. She wore it as armor, silent, invisible, and unshakable. Her physical war had ended, but discipline, that remained. And while the world forgot her sacrifice, she relived it with every new dawn. The relentless Dallas sun beat down on the construction site, casting sharp shadows over concrete piles and crooked scaffolding. The air shimmered, thick with reddish dust and incessant hammering. Trucks rumbled, sparks flew from blowtorches, and a chorus of voices rose above the hum of progress. Along the broken sidewalk came Kara Vance, the rhythmic click of her prosthesis marking each step. It was a familiar path, walked dozens of times to the Veterans Clinic just a few blocks away. Worn jeans, faded green t-shirt, sun-weathered skin. A woman in her silent routine, ignored by most. But that day, she didn't go unnoticed. "Hey," a voice shouted from the other side of the fence. "Lost your weight at a charity counter, sweetheart?" The words hung, acidic, before dissolving into laughter, a cheap cruelty. Kara didn't alter her pace. Her jaw tensed, but her gaze remained fixed. On the second floor of the scaffolding, 3 workers in fluorescent vests pointed and nudged each other. One of them mimicked Kara's limping gait.
Another staged a dramatic stumble, pretended to scream, and burst out laughing. "She must have bought that leg on sale from a junkyard," one bellowed. On the ground floor, Mike Jensen, the foreman, a brute with broad shoulders and a red face, chewed a toothpick with the same intensity with which he flipped through his clipboard. Seeing Kara, he saw not a person, but the cue for the grand finale. "Someone call the military asylum," he roared, making the entire construction site halt. "Looks like one of their wind-up dolls escaped." Shouts and ironic applause followed. Kara tightened her marine cap even further. She continued, shoulders straight, head held high. She neither stopped nor hesitated. She had faced enemy fire before. This was just noise. On the sidewalk, a teenager of about 17 was already filming with her cell phone, smiling. "This is going to blow up," she whispered to her friend. "TikTok is going to go crazy for RoboCop woman." No one lifted a finger to intervene. Some workers shifted uncomfortably, but no one said anything, not even the assistant manager, who watched with his arms crossed. Kara did not scream. She did not respond. Her silence, however, was not weakness. It was the containment of a force few could comprehend. Behind that stillness, years of discipline, pain, and sacrifice lay hidden. Inside, a knot twisted, not from shame, but from an ancestral weariness. It wasn't the first time, and she knew it wouldn't be the last. Mike Jensen was not satisfied. "I bet she's never seen a real battle," he sneered. "She must have crashed into some bar counter on leave." More laughter, more curious eyes fixed on her. Kara, however, did not give in to the temptation to look back. She reached into her shirt collar, feeling the warmth of her dog tags against her chest. The worn metal told her silent story. Name, blood type, the force she belonged to. A silent prayer echoed in her mind. You endured, you served, you made a difference. The taunts faded behind her as she continued, dust clinging to her boots, sweat trickling down the back of her neck. She neither sped up nor slowed down. With each click of her prosthesis, she remembered why she couldn't falter. She wouldn't give them the pleasure of seeing her give in. Almost at the corner, something caught her attention. A black SUV parked half a block away, tinted windows and the engine in a discreet purr. Someone was watching her inside. She didn't know it yet, but the gears of justice were already beginning to turn. A little beyond the construction site, in the generous shade of a sycamore tree, the black SUV waited. The engine purred low, the tinted windows concealed the man inside. But he wasn't hiding, he was observing. Ethan Stone at the wheel, elbows resting, his gaze fixed on the dusty swirl about 30 meters away. He watched caravans pass, her limping gait, her marine cap in hand, engulfed in laughter and disdain. Ethan's face, marked by time and impassive, barely moved. Only his jaw clenched, an almost imperceptible gesture. That click of the prosthesis, the way she didn't look back. All of this resonated with Ethan. Not just the present, but the past, a war of a different nature. His hand slid down his forearm, pulling up his shirt sleeve to expose a tattoo. A golden trident intertwined with an eagle and an anchor, the emblem of the Navy Special Warfare Operators. Worn by time, but still unmistakable, still deserved. The memory came like a flash, more vivid than any movie. Kandahar, dust, fire, bullets, and blood. Ethan's team cornered behind a burning convoy. 3 civilians were dying. And then, in the midst of smoke and sniper crossfire, Kara Vance emerged, running in the open. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Each return, she carried someone. The 3rd time she ran, but she didn't come whole. She never asked for a thank you. She never appeared at the commendation ceremonies. Ethan, yes, he was there, in dress uniform, receiving honors. But he never forgot who had kept him alive to be there. Now, to see her publicly humiliated, treated as an annoyance, a cheap joke, that awakened something in him that had been dormant for years, an ancient and dangerous fire. He picked up the phone, without hesitation, without a second of doubt. "It's Stone." His voice, low and firm, cut through the air. "Send the convoy. The time has come." He ended the call, the cell phone sliding onto the dashboard. At that moment, Ethan Stone was not just a former Navy Special Warfare operator. He was a brother in arms, and no one mocked a Marine who, one day, had dragged his bloody body out of hell, not without first learning the hard way the meaning of true honor. Kara Vance seemed to have been carved from the dry earth of some remote Sertal, where the dust of dirt roads was more abundant than asphalt, and dawn came with the crow of roosters and the rumble of tractors.
The family barely survived on a small farm by a forgotten stream, planting corn and soybeans, just enough to keep the lights on. She grew up knowing hard work and the quiet pride of doing her duty, even when no one bothered to say thank you. Her father, a man of few words and calloused hands. Her mother, who taught her to sew, ride, and mend a broken fence before she was 12. But when she turned 18, Kara knew the farm wouldn't be her final destination. The land was exhausted, her parents aging. She refused to repeat the same routine for a lifetime. So, with nothing but grit and a high school diploma, she enlisted in the Navy. Basic training didn't shock her as most expected. After all, she had been carrying hay bales since she could barely walk. Kara excelled. She wasn't one to make a fuss, but she was astute, disciplined, and fiercely protective of her own. She didn't seek commendations, only a purpose. By her 2nd mission, she was already the Marine everyone trusted with their eyes closed. Kandahar, 3rd month of patrols, and everything turned to dust. A convoy Kara was escorting, laden with medical supplies, snaked through an urban labyrinth. The IED, improvised explosive device, hidden under the asphalt, was detonated remotely at the exact moment the lead vehicle crossed the block. The explosion ripped through the ground, shattered glass and eardrums, flipped a Humvee upside down, and silenced its engine. She didn't hesitate. Kara ran. She plunged headfirst into the smoke and debris. She dragged a colleague from the wreckage, carried a panicking and burned civilian aid worker, and brought them to the safety of the median strip. On her 3rd run, as she reached out for a Marine trapped under twisted metal, the 2nd explosion hit her full force. She woke up in a military hospital in Ramstein, Germany, her left leg amputated below the knee. Her records listed a Silver Star, a Purple Heart, and the eternal respect of her unit. But medals don't shield anyone from the cold silence that follows the end of the war. Returning home was diving into a war of another kind, quieter, colder. Employers saw the prosthesis long before they even looked at her resume. "We're concerned about liability," a manager murmured. Another, with a forced smile, simply said, "This job requires many hours on your feet," and discarded her file without further ado. Kandahar didn't matter to them. They didn't want to know what she had done or who she had saved. To them, she was a risk, an uncomfortable reminder, a walking story no one wished to hear. And so, the woman who once defied hell resigned herself to a life where even a trip to the supermarket required preparation. Stares, curious glances, intrusive questions, or worst of all, the condescension of pity. The heat on the construction site had reached its climax, sweat glistening on sun-baked foreheads, the air heavy with the smell of metal, dust, and diesel.
the last laugh still echoed, now more scattered, less confident. Some workers tried to resume hammering, but most kept their eyes on the sidewalk, as if expecting Kara Vance to turn around at any moment. She didn't, but someone else would. Without warning, a deep rumble came down the street. It wasn't the sound of another truck or concrete mixer, but the unmistakable roar of military engines. 3 black SUVs appeared at the corner, moving in tactical formation, like a patrol on a mission. Opaque windows, immaculate paint, they didn't honk, didn't accelerate erratically. They simply advanced with lethal precision and stopped in perfect alignment in front of the main gate, completely blocking the entrance. The construction work stopped, en masse. Someone dropped a wrench. Another took off his helmet, not knowing why. The doors, first the front, then the back, opened. 7 men emerged simultaneously, their movements fluid, rehearsed. They weren't wearing combat fatigues or camouflage, but their aura made it clear they didn't need to. Black tactical pants, dark fitted shirts, heavy boots. Some wore sunglasses, others didn't. No one smiled. They didn't speak, didn't gesticulate, they were just there. They scanned the site with their eyes, like operators invading a complex, measuring angles, assessing threats, mapping exits. The construction crew, previously so noisy, fell silent, stunned. Even Foreman Mike Jensen stood motionless, his mouth agape, not knowing if it was a government inspection, a security drill, or something far worse. There was something unique about those men, and their way of walking. Not an arrogant walk, but one of absolute control. Their posture didn't ask for space, it demanded it. One of them, older, clearly the leader, stepped forward. It was Ethan Stone.
Short gray hair, arms tattooed with a trident, a line of coordinates casually draped but ready. He approached the site without a word, his gaze fixed, not on the equipment, the foreman, or the steel beams, but on Kara Vance, who, 2 blocks away, had not once turned around. The others posted themselves behind him, no command necessary. No one knew who they were. No one knew why they were there. But as they advanced in perfect synchronicity, the laughter from before evaporated like steam on a hot griddle. And for the first time that day, the only sound on the construction site was the wind. The only sound Lieutenant Stone heard was the crunch of boots on gravel, as the distance between him and the foreman shortened. Mike Jensen, so loud and arrogant minutes earlier, now cowered awkwardly at the base of the scaffolding, his clipboard hanging uselessly in his hand. Drops of sweat ran down his arms, his neck reddened by the sun. Stone stopped less than an arm's length away. He didn't need to raise his voice. Who was responsible for insulting Chief Petty Officer Kara Vance? Mike blinked, the name hitting him like a shot. He stammered, trying to compose himself. Look, it was just a joke, you know. No one meant any offense. Stone didn't even flinch. A joke. He turned slightly, just enough for everyone around to hear his words. His voice was calm, but each syllable was a precise cut in the heavy air. Chief Petty Officer Vance served 2 combat tours in Iraq. In Kandahar, she pulled 3 wounded soldiers, including me, from a burning Humvee under sniper fire. She lost her leg doing it. That's no joke. A deathly silence. Every worker froze. Some lowered their heads. Others stared, stunned. Some, slowly, began to absorb the gravity of what was happening. Mike opened his mouth and closed it, his bravado withered, deflated. One of the younger men, tall, with a shaved head and a body tense as a spring, stepped out of the line of SUVs. He raised his cell phone. We recorded everything he said from start to finish, from the sidewalk. Every word, every laugh, every insult. Mike's face paled further. Just to remind you, the young man added, mocking a decorated veteran,
On public property, during work hours, that's going to look great when your contractor's office sees it. Ethan Stone took another step forward, his voice as icy as steel. She never asked for applause. She never sought the spotlight. But when my squad was bleeding and the insurgents were closing in, she ran. She crossed a kill zone 3 times, while men like you would be begging for help. Stone's eyes narrowed. And you? You think she's entertainment? A murmur began to grow in the small crowd. Passers-by stopped, drawn by the SUVs and the palpable tension. Several pulled out their cell phones, filming, no longer with scorn, but with a new reverence. Stone turned to face them. You laughed at a woman who honored her duty with more dignity than most men will ever show. That ends now. Mike Jensen's mouth opened again, this time for a withered apology, but the damage was irreversible. Stone didn't wait. He turned to the foreman with a calculated movement, a sentence more eloquent than any words. And behind him, every member of the Naval Elite Force aligned in perfect formation. The reckoning was underway. Kara Vance was almost at the end of the block when she heard the footsteps. They weren't hurried nor aggressive, but firm, with an unshakable purpose. She turned slowly, and the sight froze her. Ethan Stone walked towards her, unhurriedly, with the deliberate stride of a man carrying something precious. Behind him, the other 6 members of the Naval Elite Force followed in silent formation. No one else moved. The entire construction site remained in absolute silence. No. On that construction site, the silence was broken only by the metallic echo and the steady rhythm of military boots. No shouted orders, only the wind whispered its melody. Marcus stopped a few steps from Clara, his face impassive, but his eyes, oh his eyes, they told a deep story, an ancestral memory she had never seen there. It was not pity, nor curiosity, nor surprise. It was a stony, unshakable respect. He remained at attention. Then, with a voice that united the strength of a command with the calm of a stream, he uttered. With an erect posture, eyes fixed on the horizon, unshakable, Clara remained motionless, her throat tight. Instinct, forged in years of training, surfaced. Her right hand rose, fingers curved with surgical precision. She returned the salute, not out of bravado, but from a reflex honed by years in the barracks. The sensation, this time, was one of deep, long-awaited deserving. Marcus slowly lowered his hand. Then he reached into the pocket of his tactical vest and pulled out a small circular object that gleamed faintly in the sunlight, its silver edges engraved with a trident. He stepped forward, holding it with both hands. This, he explained, is the coin of brotherhood, minted by the Navy elite. It's not a favor, it's an achievement, something earned on life's battlefield. He delicately placed it in Clara's palm, enclosing it with her fingers. You earned it in Al-Khatib, but you never understood why, too busy saving lives, with no time to grasp the weight of your own bravery. She stared at the coin, then at Marcus. Her lip trembled, but no words came to her, unable to articulate. The weight of that moment fell upon her like newly forged armor, a cloak of honor forgotten for years on end. Around them, people no longer whispered. They observed in reverent silence. Even the young woman who had previously filmed Clara now held her phone lowered, her eyes expressing something closer to guilt than curiosity. For the first time in years, Clara Dixon was there, without feeling the need to justify who she was. She was seen, and more than that, she was honored. The video recording of the incident went viral faster than small-town gossip. By dusk, excerpts of Marcus Beck's words, especially the mention that she rescued me from a burning vehicle, circulated across all digital platforms.
Newscasts highlighted the event, and within hours, veteran organizations shared the image with captions like, "This is how you treat a hero." The next morning, the construction company's headquarters was inundated with phone calls, emails, and a unanimous popular outcry: rectify the error. In less than 24 hours, a formal apology was published on the company's website and social media, reading in bold letters, "We deeply regret the affront to Sergeant Clara Dixon. Her courage, sacrifice, and service to the nation deserve reverence, never disdain. We are committed to ensuring that our workplaces become environments of respect and responsibility." The statement included the announcement that Bruce Evans, the foreman whose words triggered the situation, had been removed from the project and reassigned to remote duties with no date for return. But beyond the punishments, what followed was what truly made the difference. A week later, Clara received an unexpected invitation. The principal of Harding Academy, just 3 kilometers from the construction site, wanted her to speak to students during Veteran Appreciation Week. Initially, Clara hesitated. She had never imagined herself giving a speech, much less to hundreds of energetic teenagers. But this request was different. It wasn't about medals or pity, but about sharing a raw and universal truth. She accepted. On a chilly Friday morning, Clara walked onto the stage of the Harding Academy auditorium, wearing a clean, well-pressed blouse and the same Marine Corps cap she hadn't worn in over a decade. The room remained silent as she walked to the podium, her prosthesis producing a rhythmic cadence on the floor. She did not address the war in detail or display photographs. She simply stated, "Scars are not the end of the line. They are living proof that you faced the storm, survived what tried to bring you down, and still moved forward." The students rose in applause, some with tears in their eyes. The teachers applauded longer. Back at the construction site, the transformation was not just verbalized, it was materialized, literally. At the main gate, the company installed a single brick in the ground, framed by polished steel and surrounded by fresh concrete. Engraved on it in clear, crisp letters were the words, "SGT Clara Dixon, Foundation of Appreciation." It was not imposing or ostentatious, nor reserved or lit by spotlights, but all workers passed by it daily. Some stopped and contemplated, others nodded. Some placed a hand on it before clocking in. It was more than a tribute. It became a landmark, a vivid reminder of the cost of forgetting honor, and the power of a community that chooses to remember. The brick with Clara Dixon's name not only marked the entrance to a construction site, it marked the beginning of something much grander. In the weeks that followed, the atmosphere around the construction project began to shift, slowly at first, but then gaining a momentum no one expected. It started with whispers, then conversations. Workers who once turned up their noses at diversity training or sensitivity workshops were now signing up for something dubbed respect on the job. Not because they were forced to, but because, for the first time, they understood the cost that a lack of respect had imposed on them. The first class was strange: calloused hands, hard hats, and long silences. But when a veteran named Miguel shared how his brother, also a disabled Marine, was rejected from 4 job interviews, citing safety risks, a crack opened in the heart of the room. By the 3rd session, the men were truly listening. By the 5th, they were sharing their own regrets, moments when silence weighed heavier than their own voices. Meanwhile, Clara kept a low profile. She hadn't asked to become a symbol, but fate, however, had its own way of transforming scars into symbols. One afternoon, as she sat on the veranda of a charming cafe 2 blocks from the construction site, a boy approached her table. He was 7, perhaps 8 years old, with freckles, short hair, and a small prosthetic arm peeking shyly from the sleeve of his red hoodie. He stood in silence for a moment, watching her. "My mom says I'm like you," he said. Clara looked up, surprised. "She says I don't need 2 arms to be strong," he continued. "She said maybe I can be a hero too."
Clara felt a deep wave of emotion rise in her chest. She leaned forward, lowering her voice so that it carried the weight it deserved. "You already are," she said. "Every day, when you wake up and choose to continue, you are a hero." The boy broke into a smile that lit up his face, his eyes wide with pure admiration. He ran back to his mother, who was watching from a distance, tears already in her eyes. The echo of Clara's discreet kindness traveled further than any viral video. Veterans began visiting the commemorative brick just to touch it. Schools organized field trips to the site. The construction company expanded its training to all regional teams. And the community began to ask new questions, not just about what happened, but also about what we can do to change. It turned out then that respect was a good virus, spreading uncontrollably. And all it took was a moment of courage from a woman who refused to bow her head even when the world laughed. 6 months after the confrontation at the construction site, Clara Dixon found herself backstage at the National Veterans Conference in the Capitol, in its political heart. She had never imagined being there, much less as a keynote speaker. She wasn't a career politician, nor a writer skilled in media. She had no publishing contract, no press office. But the world didn't need another headline. It needed someone who understood the weight of silent sacrifice and the value of dignity that doesn't need shouts to be heard. Once, a Navy SEAL confided in her, "You never sought the spotlight." And it was true. But now she had something greater than recognition. She had a voice, and she intended to use it. As she walked onto the stage, the lights dimmed and the packed auditorium fell silent. Rows of active duty military, veterans, military families, and national leaders watched her as she walked to the podium. Among them, seated in the front row, were 2 faces Clara recognized immediately. Marcus Beck sat in full uniform, his head bowed in respect. Beside him was the boy from the cafe, the one with the prosthetic arm, now wearing a small Marine Corps jacket his mother had sewn by hand. His small hand rested protectively on a polished challenge coin, the one Clara had given him as a gift during their second encounter. Clara stood, imposing, the stage lights highlighting the subtle outline of her prosthesis visible beneath her skirt. She did not hide it. She would never hide it again. She took a deep breath and then spoke. "I used to believe that honor resided in medals," she said softly, "or in ranks, in salutes. But I learned that it doesn't depend on how many arms or legs you have, nor on your perfect posture. Honor, in fact, is born from how you face the storm when everything around tries to tear you apart." The silence in the room was electrifying. No coughing, no rustling of papers, just held breath. Some of us came home unharmed, others didn't. Some scars are visible, others aren't. But all of them matter. She paused, looking directly at the boy in the front row.
Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it limps, wears a red hoodie, and holds its head high. The boy broke into a smile that lit up the auditorium, his eyes wide with pure admiration. The applause started slowly, a couple of hands, then a few more, until the entire auditorium rose to its feet. A standing ovation that lasted over 2 minutes, resounding like thunder through the high ceilings of that hall. Clara stepped away from the microphone, not to bask in glory, but to share the moment. She had carried her burden in solitude for years. Now she felt thousands of souls by her side, and for the first time in a long time, she felt something she hadn't allowed herself to feel since the war: pride. The brick at the entrance of the construction site became more than a tribute. It became a destination. Veterans from across the state, and eventually the country, made detours to see it. Some arrived on motorcycles, with old unit patches still clinging to their jackets. Others arrived silently, with aching knees and leaning on canes, touching the engraved name with trembling hands. For many, it was the first time they saw their own stories honored in public. The community followed suit. Students came to learn. Teachers brought lesson plans. families brought flowers. What began as a moment of humiliation transformed into a living monument, carved not only in stone, but above all, in hearts. From that single instant, a movement emerged. It all started online with a simple phrase shared by the same teenager who had once used his phone to mock. May respect echo louder than scorn. The hashtag spread. Stories began to surface. Veterans, nurses, firefighters, amputees, cancer survivors, all raising their voices to the world. They were standing, not despite their scars, but because of them. And as she concluded her keynote speech at the National Veterans Conference, Clara stood tall under the spotlights and broadcast her final message to the world. Scars are not a reason to hide your face. They are living proof that you survived. The room filled with applause once more, but this time, no one was applauding a speech. They were applauding the truth spoken by someone who had walked through fire, been mocked in broad daylight, and yet remained without bitterness. Clara Dixon never wanted to be a symbol, but now she was a reminder that heroes walk among us every day, sometimes limping, sometimes in silence, but always courageous. What began as a cruel joke on a hot afternoon in a Texas town turned into something much more than that, an uncomfortable mirror perhaps that society was forced to confront, asking, how do we treat those who gave us everything? Clara Dixon's story is not about one woman, one salute, or a single brick on a building site. It's a reminder that dignity is not earned. It must be offered with an open heart. That respect is not about medals, uniforms, or whether someone limps or not. It's about how we see ourselves when the lights go out and no one else is watching. In today's America, where snap judgments often drown out quiet strength, we need stories like this, especially for those of us who have lived long enough to know that the loudest voice in the room is not always the one that carries true courage. Sometimes courage walks past us silently, in a worn-out baseball cap, never asking for a round of applause. So, let me ask you, have you ever seen someone ridiculed for being different and wished you had spoken up? How does honor manifest in your community today? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Share a moment that restored your faith in people, or tell us about your town's unsung hero. If Clara's story moved you, help it reach others. Like, share, and subscribe for more soulful stories, especially those that our more experienced generation knows how to value. Stories of resilience, respect, and a strength that speaks without needing to shout. And remember, sometimes a simple gesture, a salute, a brick on the ground, has the power to build much more than walls. It can rebuild us from within. Thanks for listening. See you next time.